edition of the London Session Open, or 600 Seconds of Trading as we also call it. Today is July 25th, 2018, and it's 10 past 9 a.m. in London. Let's take a look at the markets, but before we do that, as always, I need to stress that trading financial markets, unfortunately, is high risk, and we could potentially lose all of our invested money. As well, I'm going to conduct some live technical analysis. I'm going to share with you guys what I think is happening with the markets, but it doesn't necessarily mean, well, this is actually made with an educational purpose and not intended to be viewed as buy and sell recommendations. Okay, so we're going to begin with the euro, and as you know, the euro is not doing too much. The market is trading sideways between the June low and the July high. So this is 115.07, and then over here you have 17.90, and on a break to the downside, the market could potentially trade down to 113.12, whereas on a break to the 117.90 level, the market could potentially head up to 118.50 and then possibly 119.96. Potential triggers, yeah, maybe tomorrow's ECB rate meeting. I'm not sure I think it's going to shock the markets, but we never know. It could potentially lift it up and then down a bit and then continue to move to the upside. Alternatively, pushes price down here and then a day later or so trades below the June low and we hit the July 2017 level. The best thing to do right now is just to take a step back and wait for the market to break. Here's Bitcoin, and Bitcoin's doing very, very well. Since I turned bullish on the market down here, the market has gained with 24%, and the market continues to trade to the upside, and we reached the May 21st high now. Next short-term resistance is this level up here, which is the May 14th high. But the next major high, which is really the important one, is this level up here, which is the this would be the May 5th high. So it looks potentially we can reach to those levels. The entry we talked about was to buy here, keep it up to here, and then when this is something you just need to bear in mind, because obviously this is just a small little section of we just spend 10 minutes, 15 minutes every morning here, but we need to pay attention to is that when we break one level like this one, then the market is just gonna rally to the next level. So it would be easily possible to just have bought the break at here. And now, of course, we're going up here. It is possible to buy the break at here as well if we're to head to the upside. The only challenge, though, is that here you can see the market moved up and down and traded sideways. So you had a decent level to put a stop loss, which is just below here. So one could have bought here, stop loss somewhere down here. And then that would have qualified like a nice push, right? Here, if we buy on the break at here, it could be a problem because the next major low is down here. And if I show you the 4 hour, you can see what I mean. This is a well-defined low. Over here, you don't really have a low to work with. Maybe you can get away with putting a stop loss of 76.20, but it's unlikely that that's going to work out well. That will be on a breakout. Now, the alternative is just to be betting on further gains in the market, that this continues to be a support level, and that's when you can use your fib. You take it from the low to the high, and then maybe around 8,000 and 7,600. Ideally, a little bit more than a 38.2% correction. I suspect this market could potentially do something like this. Okay. Here's the price of gold. And gold maintains a bearish bias below 12,036 or 1,236. And the trend remains bearish below this level. Anybody can see that this is a downtrend, so there's no real reason for us to make any changes to this outlook. Okay, I want to maintain a bearish bias, and I suspect this market could head to potentially 12,104. Take out the high and we can go up, down, and up, and we have started to see some stabilization. If you look at copper and platinum prices, We had some nice breaks lower in them. We talked about them here in the presentation and in via articles as well on Trade Captain. And we're starting to see stabilization in the market. Okay. This is crude oil, and this is West Texas. You see creating lower and lower highs, so there's no reason right now to be long if you're scalping and trading short term, because the trend is not bullish for scalpers, it's bearish. And what's also interesting is that we have a nice low down here, and a break to 67.03 could relatively easy, I think, take us down to 66, if not 65. And eventually, if we push higher, I think it makes sense to turn bullish again. Finally, here's the German DAX, and has a bit of a bullish bias above the low. But there's not much happening here right now. We do have that little bullish uptrend, but if we're looking from a big picture perspective, there's not too much to do. Now, as an extra for today, and rather my preference is the S&P. And it's also interesting. If you look at Forex Markets right now, they're not doing nothing. There's not much happening. And it's a bit of a waste of time, I think, to trade FX right now at this moment. Until your dollar starts trending, and Aussie dollar, New Zealand dollar, they're all also trading sideways. So there's really not much happening. I think they're going to be boring. There's no way to know when they're going to be starting to trend. But, you know, ECB rate meeting, Fed rate meeting on August 1st as well. That could be something. But stock markets, they have a little bit of a bullish bias. So, so far it's looking good. We talked about buying here, and it moved to our favor. It's now possible following yesterday's price action to reduce the stop loss to the lows. And I think this market can continue to potentially head to the 2018 high. But I wouldn't get too excited. It's really important to take a step back. It's summertime. There's not much activity happening, so I'm not sure if it's easily just going to rally to the upside. But we definitely have a bullish bias in the S&P, and this is something one can potentially work with. So in the short term, I would argue that the trend is bullish above 27.87. And, you know, we don't necessarily even have to pull a fib, but I'm doing it anyway. You can see here how the market, you know, could go down maybe to 2810, maybe in worst case the 2800. But eventually I think this is hopefully just going to drift to the upside. So that's something I would prefer working with. Another thing as well, like cryptos, Bitcoin started to rally. A lot of the other coins have not started to rally yet. Last time I checked, Ethereum was not trading sideways, or was still trading sideways. This is Ethereum. There's not much activity here. But if we take out 515, then we could, I think we could probably go all the way up to 700 again. So we need to be clever here. Crypto markets, traders had a boring June up until now, and an overall difficult time for them. We did, however, this month have some okay moves in stock market indices, and you definitely had opportunity to make money on gold and commodities, in particular with crude oil, gold, silver, and copper and platinum and palladium. All of those markets declined. That was sort of the trend for July. Forex is still trading sideways, so no point looking at that. Crypto is starting to become active, so this could be something that potentially could be interesting. So keep an eye on this, and something that is already trending is stock market indices. Could potentially move to the upside. And that's how I operate. I actually jump from one market to another. So Hai says oil gaining momentum higher. I disagree with that. I mean, at least if you look at from West Texas Intermediate, so US oil, it's not gaining momentum, it's trading sideways. But I do know that Brent crude is pushing up. And I was short myself. So on the break to the low here, I was short myself here for a while, but then they moved up against me And then here I got out, not more or less a break even. Technically we could still move to the downside, but I wouldn't really call this is a corrective move, if anything, right now. It's not like an amazing opportunity, I think, at least. But yeah, it's going to the upside. The different ways of trading the markets. Short term, like if you look at from a 1 hour, you have a bit of a bullish bias, without a doubt. But if you're looking at it from a bigger perspective, then there's not much happening. Key point is this, though. There's different ways to trade the markets. If you're doing it well and it's going well, then do what you're doing. If you're having problems, then maybe look at the big levels the way I do it, and jump around from one market to another. If you can't trade cryptos, you don't have that with your broker right now, then maybe looking into something like Amana Capital. They do offer cryptos. You can trade Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin, and Ripple with them. And they're a FCA regulated broker. They're also regulated in Cyprus. So you have all the security that you'll have with other brokers. As well, before we finish, I wanted to remind you guys about the Delta Trader program. If you're trading with, say, less than $100,000, then it can definitely be worthwhile checking out. There are people we know as well that have got involved here, even though they have more money. It's very straightforward. If you trade well and you make profits, your average winning rate is higher than 45%, and your average risk-reward ratio is higher than 1.5. So if you meet those conditions and trade 100 times, then you could potentially be granted a $100,000 account by Amana Capital, 514 Capital Partners. They're a hedge fund manager, and they're looking for people to manage part of their money. So they allocate 1 million per quarter, and every quarter they look at people that have, a good profit factor. The profit factor has to be higher than 1.5. And again, percentage winning, and the other one is average win to average loss. If you have those meeting conditions there, plus you're traded 100 times, then you can potentially, and you're in the top 10 traders, you could potentially be managing 100,000. For this first round, which we started about 2 months ago, so we still have 1 month more to go. We have about 2 people right now that look to be potentially managing 100,000, and on September 4th, the first round finishes. Now, anybody that traded during the first round, or that starts today, say you start trading today and you trade 20 times, well, it's not that the things get reset by September 4th. Rather, you continue your track record, and then when you have traded 100 times, maybe in December, then you will, and if you again met those conditions I mentioned, then you could potentially manage 100,000. Now, why is it interesting to manage 100,000? Well, because with 100,000, you keep 20% of your profits. So if you, in your own account, you can just see, like, what did I produce last year? Did you do, the last 12 months? If you did, say, 20%, well, 20% return on 120, that's a 20,000% return. Of those 20,000, you keep 20% of profits that you made. So you could potentially make $2,000. And that's why I say, if you have less than $100,000 in your trading account right now, then this could be interesting. It doesn't cost anything. You just need to trade with an Amana Capital trading account, and that's it. You don't have to move all your money here, but you can have parts of your money to try it out. You can read more about it. Just go to amanacapital.com/Delta Trader. Okay, guys, have a good day, and I'll see you guys tomorrow at 9 a.m. London time. Thank you.